The day was full of laughter. A small fair was in town, and the pups were having a ball. They had already thrown bean bags, eaten cotton candy, and enjoyed a ride on the merry-go-round. They were each excited about different things. Tanker wanted to see if he could ring the bell on the Test Your Strength game. Lily wanted to go on the topsy-turvy ride, and Smudge wanted to try to get the ball in the baskets. Farrah wanted the pups to win the tug-of-war game. They stood together deciding which way to go first, and Farrah told them that they would have to practice before the tug-of-war started. They all looked at her. Actually, they weren't even interested in entering the competition. No one thought they'd have to practice, too. Especially when the fairground was full of other wonderful things to do. But Farrah insisted. And to make her happy, they all agreed. She lined the pups up. Tanker, the heaviest, was at the front. Farrah was next, then Dilly, and Smudge was at the back. Dilly couldn't see over Farrah and didn't think it was much fun. She really wanted to get on the topsy-turvy ride. But Farrah told her it wasn't a game about seeing, it was about pulling. Dilly wasn't too sure Farrah knew what she was talking about, but she stayed anyway. Then Farrah told everybody that they had to lean back against the rope. Well, because no one was holding the other end yet, they all fell back in a pile on top of Smudge. Smudge wasn't very happy. He wanted to try his hand at getting the ball in the basket. Farrah told him this was important, and even though he wasn't sure Farrah knew what she was talking about, he stayed too. Farrah said the other important thing was to spread your feet apart to keep your balance. If you didn't, the other team pulled you over. Tanker tugged on the other end to give them all a chance to practice. But when they let go, he fell over backwards again. He really wanted to give up and try the Test Your Strength game. He didn't think Farrah knew what she was talking about, but when he saw the look in her eyes, he knew he had to stay too. At that moment, a bell rang, and it was time for the teams to come forward. Farrah told them they'd have fun. It was starting to look like fun when they saw some of their friends on the other side. Everybody lined up as Farrah had told them to, and when the whistle blew, they all pulled, but Lily forgot and leaned out to see the other team. She fell over. Smudge stood straight up and lost his balance. He fell over. Tanker stood with his feet together and tripped over them. He fell over too. Only Farrah was still holding the rope. She pulled with all her might, but the other team was still standing, pulling against her. By the time Smudge, Tanker, and Dilly were back in line, the game was over. And Farrah was sad. Not because they didn't win, but because she knew how to win. And none of the other pups had tried. The other three hurried out to try other games. And Farrah came and gave me a big hug. She knew it didn't matter at all to anyone else. I told her if it mattered to her, it mattered. Just then my radio came on and announced a kitten was at the fair and caught on the string of a runaway helium balloon. I flashed my light and the other pups came on the run. We looked for the balloon and I saw it rising over the fairground in the distance. The pups leapt on and we drove after it. When we got close, I stopped and the team jumped down. They raced after the string that was trailing on the ground. Carmel Kitten was calling for help. Farrah told her, hold on tight. Then she called to the other pups. They would get the string and have a tug of war with the wind. Dilly was the one who grabbed the string. Tanker darted in and grabbed it too. He made a space for Farrah. Smudge came up behind Dilly and held the end. Once they were in position, they spread their feet to keep their balance. and they all leaned back together. It was a beautiful sight to see. At first the wind was winning, and the balloon tugged at the string. Carmel was holding on as tightly as she could and trying hard not to be afraid. Then Tanker, who was at the front, told them to move their hands up the string and pull to bring the balloon down. Although the wind tried, it couldn't win against the pups. I was so proud it brought a tear to my headlights. Carmel Kitten landed in Tanker's arms. She was so happy to be safe, she gave him a big kiss. Everybody clapped for the pups. When the judge of the tug-of-war came over, he handed Farah a great big ribbon. They may have lost the game, but they sure knew how to win a tug-of-war when it counted. Farah was very happy. I was too, because Tanker told her he would never have known how to get Carmel down without Farah's advice. The wind had been very strong. Then Dilly told her she was a good teacher. Dilly hadn't peeked once. She just pulled as Farah had taught her. Smudge came, put his arm on her shoulder. He said sometimes it bothered him when she told him what to do, but this time was different. She had given them very good advice, and he was really glad to know it. Then he added that he was glad to know her too. Nobody was happier than I was. It's always hard to admit when someone else is right, and each pup did just that. I was proud of them. And do you know, when you admit a friend of yours is right, I'll be very proud of you too.
Here's some things that are fun to do. Fun for the friends who play with you. Fun for a bunch, or just for two. Fun for me, and fun for you. Like sliding on a hill. The secret is to hold on tight as you go down the slopes. Especially where there's bumps.